Sean Santoro, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, my man. How are you?
I've known this guy for quite a few years now. Um, and speaking of talent in many areas, not only intelligent, but very, very educated in various areas that can legitimately help people. We'll get into mortgage brokering and stuff like that, but also the other parts of the financial background and advice that this man can give is absolutely pretty incredible. How am I doing so far, Sean?
Well, thank you. Am I blushing?
Yeah, the color's working over here. Okay,
Perfect.
let me ask you about a little bit about mortgaging, mortgage broker. Are you like, do you have to be licensed in the province? Are you licensed?
Yeah, so in order to deal in mortgages in the province of Ontario, you do need to be licensed, unless you work for an entity that is licensed, and then there might be a sort of workaround. As I've heard, there's some agents that are kind of able to operate under like a blanket license, anyways. But for the most part, yes, you have to be licensed in the province of Ontario. I am licensed in the province of Ontario. I'm what's called a mortgage agent level two. That means I can do standard, residential transactions with conventional A lenders. I can also work with B lenders, but because I'm a level two agent, I can also work with private lenders, private investment, and commercial deals as well.
I don't
And I
want
don't know if you my dog is like straight. The new puppy is howling downstairs, so I
it's
don't know if
no
that's
problem
coming
here.
through.
No issues. Can't hear it. Let's go into that. I know that if somebody wants to do a private mortgage, if you've got one person, you just register that on title. But if you've got two or three people, you want to buy a $300,000 something, and you got three people each throwing in $100,000. There's a whole other set of circumstances that legally you wind up to. Are you
Correct.
you have the ability to?
Yeah, so what that's referred to as, and I'm not sure what the specific number is because I haven't actually done one of those before. Um, but that would be what's referred to as a syndicated mortgage. Basically, just means a group of investors offering, pooling dollars together and saying, "Hey, we're going to do the lend together."
Does your license allow you to do something like that, or do we
I
really have to go
haven't
through a lawyer and securities commission?
Correct. Yeah, I haven't done one personally. So off the top of my head, I actually don't know. I can absolutely find out, but I haven't done a syndicated mortgage before. I do remember, when we studied our, exam bookings, if it didn't say we couldn't do it, there's certainly additional criteria in terms of compliance and whatnot that you have to jump through the hoops. So anytime I have one of those deals that's kind of not my immediate purview, I always bring in a colleague that is familiar, that understands, that has done them before, because I would much rather learn and
Yep,
offer up portions of the deal than to try and stumble through and potentially screw up a deal for a client, because that's nobody wants that.
do it right or don't do it at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You said you have access to A lenders and B lenders. How many lenders do you have access to for trying to help your client?
Yeah, so through TMG, the mortgage group, we have access to 50 plus lenders. I don't use all of them. You kind of get a niche, right? You kind of figure out. It's more situational depending on the circumstances and the individual client or borrower, I guess I should say. Uh, and so, I mean, if they've got good credit, good income and no kind of unique circumstances or anything like that, anything that kind of jumps out at you, then obviously we're going to shoot for the A side first because that's generally going to offer the most advantageous interest rates for the borrower. If maybe they've got some previous credit concerns or maybe their debt servicing is kind of exceeding the limitations for A side deals. So that's the thing about A side deals is it's very you fit in the box or you don't fit, and not everybody fits in the box, and that's kind of why I looked at the mortgage broker side. Is I wanted to be able to offer people more options than just sorry, no, bye. That's not a solution, right? It wastes people's time and it gets them frustrated, it gets them dejected. And I've seen multiple occasions where people have come to me and they've said, I was told that I can't get approved. And I look at the deal and I say, well, no, you just couldn't get approved there. There are solutions. And that's where we go into positives, negatives. Because again, when you get into the B side lender market or even the private market, obviously those situations cost a little bit more. But it's all about, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is always the analogy that I give to people. It's like, okay, you want a house? Yes, perfect. What is the thing that's holding you back? Is it that you just can't qualify? You don't care what the interest rate is because maybe you're just tired of paying, $2,500 a month in rent. Okay, like there's a solution. And that's where we go into positives and negatives. Obviously, they're going to want to be on the A side. And if we can't make it there, we're going to build the roadmap. Okay, here's how we get in. Here's the progression. And here's where you'll qualify for an A.
You brought up a couple of points that I actually had in my mind. One is, as a realtor, and to all the people who work in banks and stuff like that, I apologize, but I'm in kind of the habit now of saying, if you've been pre-qualified for mortgaging, yeah, we've gone to the bank, and I say, would you accept a second opinion? Because the bank has their little rule book on the shelf, and if you don't fit into their little rule book, but I would send you to my mortgage broker, because the mortgage broker has so many other options. You're kind of not locked in. So I'm actually in the habit of doing that, and
Beautiful.
sending people to a mortgage broker. So briefly, then, how are you different from a bank?
So kind of as I was explaining before in the A side deals, you either fit into the box or you don't. So the banks fit into the A side categories, right? So debt service ratios, credit, those kinds of things. If you don't fit into those into those criteria, sorry, we can't help you kind of deal. My position is always there's a solution for everybody. It all depends on what are the circumstances and what's the timeline, right? So I always want to give people a solution, whether it means right now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12, it all depends on the deal, right? But primarily the biggest difference is banks' limitations stop at that, A side qualifying criteria. Mine expands through. And so if clients are more comfortable with the bank, that's perfectly fine. I work with many of the banks. Who do you want to work with? Are you, particular to TD or Scotiabank? Sure. Yeah, that's in the wheelhouse. And that's why when I talk to people and they say, I never thought of a mortgage broker because I didn't know you guys deal with banks. No, like we have many relationships with banks. It's like I use them very, very often. So it's all about the individual solution for the individual board.
The one thing that I've noticed too is the people who work in the banks, although they're friendly and they give you good customer service. And again, I'm not knocking the banks, but
No.
Every Friday or every 2 weeks or something like that, they get their paycheck. And if you get a mortgage or not, they still get paid every 2 weeks. How do you get paid? Who pays you?
Yeah. So it's long and short for each deal that we, get to the finish line. And that's a big point is that if we don't get to the finish line, there's no compensation on my side. So I am directly invested in ensuring we get you what you want. Right. And so in how I'm paid is it operates very much like almost like a referral fee for whatever lender it is that we're working with. And in other circumstances, so in the event that we have to go say, those B side deals, in the A side deals, lenders compensate us. We're good. In the B side deals, they don't compensate us in the same manner. And there's generally more work that's involved in those kind of more complex deals. And in those circumstances, that's where I might have to charge the client a direct, what we call a broker fee. Again, all of it is, completely transparent. It's all done by disclosures. We are held to the compliance of that. We have to, provide all that disclosure. So in the event that we are in a situation where I have to charge a broker fee, the client is fully aware and totally agreeable to it before it even happens. And if they're not agreeable to it, like that's okay. Again, maybe I haven't done a good enough job of explaining, juice versus the squeeze. That's the thing is if they want the deal, right, and they're in a challenging situation, That's where we need to go into those kind of extra markets. And in those extra markets, there's fees involved to the lenders as well, right? A B lender will charge what's called a lender fee. And certainly anybody who's ever done a private deal knows that lender fees, broker fees, every time, because there's no compensation for a referral in the private market.
Yep. The last question, maybe the most difficult question or most interesting. What's the toughest deal that you've ever done?
I've had some doozies. So credit, a lot of people consider that their credit is like the be all end all. Credit is much less of a concern if you've got down payment sources. Basically, what I tell people is you get to 20% down payment, your credit isn't really a consideration as much anymore. You can get all the way down to, the low 500s. There are lenders available that work in that area. Obviously, again, higher interest rates, lender fees involved in those kind of B-side deals, but, you can do it. And so the toughest deal. So I had a deal that was, it was the first time I had actually used this program. It's what's called a bank statement program. And it was a self-employed individual. And long and short, they didn't have 2 years of conventional tax filing history to show, hey, I'm self-employed. This is what income I make. Because again, anybody in the self-employed world knows when you go for a mortgage, we're always trying to keep our tax liability within reason. You don't want to pay more than, what's required. And ultimately, a lot of business owners drive down their income using deductions, things like that. Well, there's a double-edged sword to that, is now you're registering a lower income while lenders look at your income, right? So as much as I said, the credit isn't the big concern, income always is, right? So when you get into tough income situations, particularly if you have somebody that's self-employed and you don't have 2 years history, prior to using this bank statement program, it's like there's not a whole lot of options available. So what this program basically does is it'll take a snapshot of, your bank statements for your business showing money coming in. 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month, depends on what it is, realtor, mortgage broker, carpenter, whatever they are. And it basically will total up all those deposits over the 6-month window or 12-month window, depending on the lender. From there, they'll take certain deductions off: business licensing, insurance, vehicle costs, payroll costs if you've got employees. And then they'll come to this net number. That net number is then what we can use as the income justification for financing on the file, for qualifying, right? And so I'd say this deal, it's not that was difficult. It involved additional paperwork and, getting things through. The challenge one to that was a timeline deal. And so we closed the deal 16 calendar days from the agreement of purchase and sale acceptance. And feather in my cap kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it was, I said from the beginning, I'm like, this is kind of tough outside of the private world. In the private market, you can get a deal done in like 48 hours. If you've got everything right, nice, tight, clean, bang, you can get it done. But outside of private, that's very challenging. And so 16 calendar days is kind of my record. I've had a lot of doozies, but that one, because of the bank statements, because of the timeline and the fast financing condition, like we had to move fast. And luckily the borrower, he was very good to work with. He was great about getting me documents that I needed. And we did a lot of the pre-work up front, which is a big reason why we were able to do it so fast. And that's why I always stress to people, like, let's do all the document collection now, because you're going to have to anyways. So why not do it now?
Yep.
Like, you don't want to do this when you're at the closing table, when you're at the agreement to purchase sale table, and we're like, oh no, I need this. That just creates stress. It's no fun for the borrower. It's no fun for the seller. It's no fun for the realtors involved. So let's, do our due diligence first.
Yep.
And then it's, makes a nice, smooth, easy transaction.
Sean Santoro, why don't you give us your contact information? How do people get, if they want mortgaging for investments or wherever, how do they get in touch with you?
So you can go to my website through TMG the Mortgage Group. It's www.seansantoro.com. You can find me on Facebook. Uh, you can reach out to me directly, 519-551-5804. That is always the best way to get a hold of me. Give me a call, send me a text. I am very diligent about answering my phone and getting back to people as quick as I can because often time is of the essence.
100%. John, thank you for today. Thank you for being on the podcast. Very informative. If anybody out there has either financial or mortgage business to do, I'd highly recommend Sean. Thank you, buddy.
Absolutely. Always happy to help. Yeah, man. Thank you very much for having me on. And I actually have a good question for you.
Oh, please.
So you've been a realtor for a while.
33.
33 years. So there's a lot of realtor partners that I work with, and some of them are a little newer, and a lot of them are, they're having a bit of a tough time right now. The market kind of went through a bit of a contraction at the end of the year. What are you finding that's a good, whether it's a good tool or just a good mindset to be in to, kind of give them that boost to keep them resilient? It's like it's not always the desert. Sometimes things are phenomenal, but there's peaks and valleys to every business. So how do you, as a person who's been doing this for 33 years, you've been through the ups and downs for sure. How do you, right? How do you offer that to people to, keep resilient through these kind of times?
Okay, I'm a realtor. I'm an investor flipper. I'm a real estate uh, investment coach. I'm also a business coach. I'm not sure if I've done this with you, but let's go to the business coach thing to answer your question. If I'm going into a business, I don't care if it's a plumber, a realtor, whoever, the first thing I would ask, Sean, what business are you in?
Me, I'm in the people business.
Okay, not the right answer. Sean, what business are you in?
Mortgage financing,
Good answer.
lead gen,
Wrong, but
lead gen, basically.
okay. So the answer to the question for you, Sean, is you're in the lead generation business.
Yeah.
You probably don't realize it. Without a lead, without somebody to talk to, you're not in business. You're out of business. So for a fairly new realtor, first of all, they have to understand the type of business that they're in. Oh, McDonald's actually is in the real estate business now, and the avenue that they've chosen in order to generate income is hamburgers. But actually, McDonald's made their wealth off of buying the property and leasing it to the franchisee. So sometimes you don't even know what business you're in. That first of all, they have to realize that they're in the lead generation business. And how do you generate a lead? Well, you go back to basics, talk to your manager, give me a call. I'll give them advice. But you can go put ads on Facebook. You can go door knocking. You can do actually cold calling, which nobody wants to do. It still actually works. And it becomes a numbers game. Being in the lead generation business, it's a numbers game. If I rip a page out of the white pages, most new people wouldn't know what a phone book is. But if I give you 100 phone numbers,
What? A what?
a what? If I give you, a page or 100 phone numbers, there is a percentage of those people who you will actually talk to. Some will be a lead and they'll show interest. Some you'll actually get an appointment, and some you'll either have them as a buyer or seller. It's a numbers game. Going back to the basics, what are the basics? That's a whole lesson in itself. But knowing what the basics are, and then having the self-discipline to get up every morning, go into the office and do your damn job. As boring as whatever it might be, have the self-discipline to whack out a chunk of time every day, do your prospecting, your lead generation, whatever you want to call it, and start building up. You might find somebody who wants to do business over the next week or two or month or something like that. Generally, The people you talk to, you will do business with them in between 3 and 6 months. The strong majority of the people go, yeah, I'm interested in doing something in real estate. So go back to the basics and be diligent, have self-discipline, and first of all, figure out what your job is, and then every day do your job. Don't complain about it. Realtors have the ability to make really good money, but you've got to work. Everybody thinks it's a dream thing. No. Finding those leads, finding those people is actually very hard work. So probably a long-winded answer to a very short question.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. I was listening to I was listening to I mean, he has a YouTube channel. It, he's out of London, anyways. I was listening to his show on Wednesday night, and he was basically talking about educating our kids on how to, um, you know, try and earn. And he's very successful. He's done a ton in real estate. But he said the hardest part is teaching the kids that the reward comes after the hard work, never before. It's always after, right? And I can absolutely resonate with that because there's days where you're just like, man, this sucks. Pick up the phone one more time, one more time, one more time, and you have no idea what that next call is going to be like. It can be game changing. It can be life changing. You never know what can happen until you just got to stick on it. Be accountable, be diligent, and
Keep talking
have
to
your
people.
reasons. Talk to people, right? Everybody's got a story, everybody's got a situation. Nobody is perfect, and that's where solutions come in. Solutions are made for problems. Everybody's got problems.
I've said to some younger people, because they're the ones who need to learn these lessons and everything, I said, why don't you and me, we go up to Huntsville, 50 acres, and there's a little cabin, no electricity into it, in the middle of the bush. The young person will go in there. It's cold in here. It's like 30 degrees. I'm too Fahrenheit, but it's cold in here. And they'll sit there and stare at the wood stove. That's not the way it works. The first thing you have to do the first thing you have to do is go and chop down the tree. Then you have to split the wood. Then you have to let it dry out a little bit. Then you carry it into the house. Then you put it into that thing right there, that big metal box, and light it. You have to do that work before you get the benefits. Going back to self-discipline, bringing out a chunk of time, 2-3 hours, whatever it is, every day, consistently, same time period, You're right. You've just got to get out there and work. Do your job.
No, totally. That's
Yeah.
it. That's what we're here for.
Sean, thank you, buddy.
Absolutely.
Great
Happy to be
talk.
here. Thank you very much.
We'll talk soon.
Sounds good, man. Take care. Ciao.
Okay.